Hey guys, welcome back to Not Your College Life with Lisa Beals, episode number 50. Guys, number 50. Woo! I have been at this consistently for almost 1 year. What do you think? Anyway, I'm Lisa Beals. I'm the Midwestern mom / college administrator who's done the college thing myself, put a couple kids through school, and realized, y'all, administrators, universities, we don't make it easy on you folks, do we? It's not like we take a class on how hard we can make it for your student and yourself to figure out all the things. And I believe that in college, classes should be hard, not the navigating. So I'm here to help bridge that gap for you and your student so you can work in focus instead of on the bureaucracy and finger pointing. You can instead focus on coaching your student, your emerging adult, into a productive, self-sufficient creature, and then enjoy the fruits of your empty nester syndrome that you work so hard for. So in this week's episode, ironically, we are talking about mom guilt. Y'all, this is a topic I know really well. I see it on the regular, on social media, and from colleagues, and from friends. I don't know what it is. Is it this Gen X generation? Do boomers feel this as well? I'm a Gen Xer, and I'm here to tell you mom guilt is real. And mom guilt can be debilitating, and it can get in the way of a lot of your own hopes and dreams. And it can also inadvertently undermine your message, your intended message for your kids and what you want for them. So I'm going to tell you 3 things that I have found through some research and doing myself over the years that can cure your mom guilt when it pops its ugly head up. So the reasons that you feel mom guilt are typically not valid reasons. They are things that your brain does to trick your mind. And after this pandemic year, your kiddos are having feelings of isolation. They're struggling with the grades that they achieved. They are struggling perhaps with isolation. They're struggling perhaps with not seeing their friends or missing out on milestones over the last year. And they can be resentful or anxious or whatever. That plays out for you, mom, because if you listen to a prior episode that I had with Alicia and the life coach and the college life coach, you'll know that students just want to find their thing and their happiness. And in my consultation with parents, our number one wish for our kids is for them to be happy. And so, of course, if your kids are struggling with anxiety or depression or frustration or poor grades or loneliness, that's not happy in our minds. And so our brain is going to tell us, warning, you've not done something that you should have done, so now you need to fix this. That thought can be debilitating because many times it's not your business to fix. It's not your business to fix. It's something that they need to learn. It's resilience and self-advocacy and inner strength that they need to find and develop within themselves. Of course, you can be there and should be there to encourage them, to be a sounding board, to ensure they don't go too far in the dark place before seeking mental health, right? Depression and self-harm is a real thing, and you trust your mama gut when you need to step in and call someone on behalf of your kiddo. If they've not achieved that If they've not achieved that level of self-awareness and self-advocacy, that's your job still. In fact, that's your job with any human. If you see any human that has voiced intent for self-harm and spoken of a plan, I take it as my human responsibility to reach out on their behalf and intervene, save a life. So that's a really, extreme situation, but nonetheless, I don't care what it is. I see moms beating themselves up because my kid didn't get playing time or as much playing time or the position they wanted, or so-and-so didn't invite them to the movies or to the outing or in the group text. There are so many reasons our kids will tell themselves a story to feel bad. And then we feel bad because we can't stop the hurt. The honest, hard truth is, friends, those are the things that teach them how to become resourceful, resilient, strong, independent, and successful. And that's the juxtaposition for us as moms, right? Our jobs for 18 years are to stop them from hurting themselves. That's nature. That's our instinct. And as I've said before, no one teaches a class to show you how to scale that back and transition some of that power and intention onto your student, onto your teen, your emerging adult. No one teaches us how to do that. So we struggle hard with that, don't we? So it's as much work for you as it is for them. Okay, so if you want to go to my show notes, I've got all the resources that I used to develop this article, and let's jump right in. Here are 3 things. So this first article is from Empowering Parents, about the failure to launch kids. It describes a number of adult child types. And let me be clear, these are intended to be adult child characteristics, but I'm sharing this with you because your teenager, your young adult, may have qualities of one of these that I want you to become aware of now before it gets embedded in how your relationship works with your kiddo, okay? So there are 5 different adult child types I want you to be aware of. That's first, awareness. So it's becoming aware first. This is the basement. This is laying the groundwork. So the first adult child type for you to watch for is the slug. This they describe, I'm just going to go high level because I don't want to spend this entire episode digging into the child types. Go to the article, you can read in, there's some funny anecdotes in there you will enjoy. But the slug is the child who pushes your hope button, that you never want to give up because they always show you just a glimmer of what they could be, but yet they continue to revert back to the nothing. They're going to scroll on social media. They're going to Netflix all day. They're going to game all day. They're going to find excuses to not do anything. And it's never going to be their fault. Okay, there's the slug. The clueless adult child. They're the ones that push our fear button, that make us fearful, because they seem or they portray the clueless person, right? I can't possibly trust my adult child to go do XYZ because they have no idea how mean and dangerous the world is, and they'll get so taken advantage of. So that plays on our fear for their safety and well-being, and we play into that. We let ourselves become manipulated with our mom guilt. There's the carefree child, who is similar to clueless, but they're very intentional. They know there's danger, but they play on they know how it affects us, so they play on that. So they'll go do the craziness, they'll go gamble, or they'll go spend, all of their rent money on the newest gaming system and come to you for rent money. because you're going to feel guilty that they're going to be homeless. They know how to work you. There's the clinger. And I think y'all are in the age bracket that you'll know. It's not the guy on MASH that dresses up in women's clothes. The clinger is the one that plays on our sympathy. And he or she knows how to speak to us and say the sweet words that will manipulate our sympathy button into giving them what they want, or not pushing them as hard as they need to be pushed. And then lastly, there's the TNT, and that's the kiddo that is borderline emotionally manipulating you. They're using the intimidation button. They're threatening you to not come and see you, or they're threatening you to move out or to disown you, whatever. They're using the power of intimidation to get what they want out of you. Okay? Those are the precursors to some failure to launch adults that I want you to be aware of in the back of your mind, so that that inner voice can tell you, caution, caution, there's some behaviors developing here that you want to be aware of, so that we can nip them. Nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife would say. That might be aging me, I don't know. But I love the old black and whites on Me TV. Okay, another funny. I'm not going to play this here, but I want you to go. I want you to go to my website, go to the show notes for episode 50, and look for the response from Dave Ramsey. Y'all, this man is gold. He is better, in my opinion, he's better than Dr. Phil. So you go listen to the Dave Ramsey response on mom guilt. You're welcome. Okay, so I got most of my stuff from Psychology Today on what to do. And interestingly, they found that mom guilt is actually higher for women than it is for men in all age groups that they assessed. Not surprising, right? If you're a woman listening to that, you are not surprised. If you're a man listening to this episode, note to self, dude. What can you do to support your wife as you realize that she is going to struggle with this guilt more than you? And don't try to come up with a solution yourself, as per is typical with men. I get it. It's in your DNA. Ask her. Give her permission to feel the guilt, realize what it is, realize the ridiculousness of it, and let it go. And encourage her for that. Okay, sorry, that was another tangent, but it needed to be said. All right, so anyway, women experience it more than men, with the biggest gap between men and women in the 40 to 50 year range. So I think that's mostly us, right? The Gen Xers. And that corresponds to the fact that we are in or approaching our sandwich years, where we are still child rearing, right? Our nest is not entirely empty yet. And now we're being pushed from the other end with some care of our aging parents. That's the stressor. And that is especially hard in the COVID year because everybody's afraid of killing their parents. That makes it really hard. Okay, here's what I do. Number one, first, you're going to look for the evidence. So that's taking your own inventory, asking trusted friends or family members. So if you start feeling I'm not doing enough, if I'm not doing enough, or for whatever reason, that guilty voice starts playing in your head, I want you to stop. I want you to sit down with a piece of paper for 10 minutes, and I want you to write down all of the things that you're doing for others, or if it's focused solely on your college student, then I want you to take 10 minutes. And in the last 30 days, what have you done for your college student? I'm here to tell you, you're going to have at least 10 things on that list. Whether it's sending them money, sending them food, texting them your concern for them to ask how they're doing, sending them a pair of winter boots or mittens or hand warmers because it's getting cold and they didn't ask for it. You just knew they needed it. What have you done? Write it out. Every little thing, even if it's so much as doing their laundry or cooking a meal, you have done something for your adult child that they could have done for themselves, but you did it because you love them. Write it down. 10 minutes. You need to hang on to that list then. If you don't feel that your list is valid, or if it's things I should be doing, then I'm going to challenge you to ask your spouse or ask your student. Can you just write down a few of the things that you think I have done that I've done to help you out in the last month? Just give me a list. And then I want you to hang on to that list. I want you to tuck it into your wallet, put it in your Bible, put it in your journal, somewhere that you can revisit that when the guilt monster starts speaking up to you again. Okay? And chances are they're going to be honest. They're going to tell you, you're doing great things, Mom. There's no reason for you to be feeling guilty. It's a lie that your brain is telling you. Number 2, write yourself a letter of gratitude daily. A lot of people, this is the thing, right? But there's a reason a lot of people are telling you it's the thing. It does something to focus your brain every day on gratitude. So I'm going to challenge you when the mom guilt is surfacing. This is working for me. I'm going to tell you, I don't see any reason why this is not going to work for you. Every day, when you're doing your devotions or reading your Bible or journaling, whatever your morning ritual is, add this to it. It's not going to take you but 60 seconds. Take 1 minute and write down 3 things that you did yesterday that were for your student or for yourself or for someone else that you're glad you did. That's just a reminder. It's putting it in the forefront of your brain that you are a generous person, that you are a giving person, that you have no reason to believe that guilt monster that's playing in your head, and it will lower that volume. Number 3, when you're hearing the guilt monster, this is my favorite one that I love to do. You could reverse roles. So if you were the recipient of all the amazing things you do, and your student was telling you how guilty they're feeling about not doing X, Y, and Z for you, how would you respond to them? Now I know it's a different dynamic, right? Because you're the mom, you're supposed to. But let's take that off the table. Let's take that assumption away. If your student came to you telling you how guilty they felt because they weren't doing X, Y, and Z for you, and it never dawned on you that they should even consider doing X, Y, and Z for you, how gracious would you respond to them? And why aren't you affording yourself that same amount of grace? Because, sis, I'm here to tell you, I see it play out generation after generation, and as intentional as I want to be, I have been guilty of it as well. You have learned behaviors. You have learned how to behave and how to care for yourself by what you've seen from your mother and your grandmother and the other women in your life. And my mom put her family above everything. In fact, she even told my dad when she got married, my children will always come first before you. And I think that's one thing he really loves about her, is her honesty and her transparency with that. And I used to think that was a good thing, but now I realize it is a good thing, but right, everything in moderation. My mom did so much for us to her own detriment. And I thought, I'm going to do better, right? She was going to do better than her mother did, and she did. She did. She was much more self-empowered than her mom. Her mom was not able, did not have the encouragement from my grandfather to speak up, to disagree. My mom can do that with confidence. Is that generational? Is that picking a bad husband? I don't know. I think a lot of it is generational. But I thought I was going to do better. And as I look back on my 52 years around the sun, I think I have done better. Could I have done more? Probably, but I'm not going to beat myself up on it. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to be intentional. And I'm going to be vocalizing my intent and encouragement to my adult daughters so that they can do even better with their kids. Let me give you an example. As much as I thought I was putting my own self-care and valuing that and setting that as setting that example for my daughters, it wasn't until 2013 when my youngest child passed away, and I spent the next year in and out of doctor's offices with one health crisis is a strong word because I don't think it was as bad as my family observed it to be. Here we are 7 years, almost 8 years later. And when I revisit these stories from time to time with my daughters or with my husband or with a dear friend, they were all extremely worried about me. Extremely worried about me. And in my brain, I don't know, maybe it's like childbirth. You think it's like childbirth where your brain tends to shelter yourself from the extreme pain of childbirth because it knows that you'll never do it again if it's a very vivid memory. I don't know. But you guys, I spent the year after my Drew passed finding out that I had a profound case of endometriosis that I never knew I had. In fact, it was so bad that my GYN sent me to a GYN oncologist, not because I had cancer, but because the level of skill it was going to take to manage or remove that was really high. And she couldn't understand how I went for probably 20 years without seeking treatment, without having symptoms. But I probably had symptoms, and I just rationalized them or ignored them because I was focusing on my husband, my girls, and my Drew. I put their needs and happiness above my own. I don't think it was intentional. I think, looking back, if I knew I had endometriosis, yeah, I would have done something about it. But I ended up losing a kidney. I ended up having to have a total hysterectomy. And I had, I think, 3 laparoscopic surgeries and then 1 Da Vinci at the end. And my poor husband, you guys, I even had to have a nephrotomy tube put in for 8 weeks before my second procedure to see if they could kind of kickstart my kidney before deciding to remove it. And can I just say what wearing a nephrotomy bag does? I can't imagine having a colostomy because a nephrotomy bag in itself, going to work every day, I had this little crossbody bag that I put my little pee pouch in, and I had to measure the output of my pee bag versus my bladder. This is a TMI. I get it. But I rationalized that it was normal. I went to work every day, you guys. Every day. And some of my coworkers still know what that little crossbody bag was. I lost a lot of weight. I thought in my head, I was playing, it was a great thing. I'm almost back to my high school weight. And here's what's funny, as I'm telling you this story now, I can remember a time when my mom was experiencing I think she was a little bit younger, similar emotional, physical health drama. And she'd lost a great deal of weight during this time. I vividly remember this. And I was worried about her because she looked so drawn and unhealthy. And Isn't it funny the stories that your brain will tell you just by a number on a scale and not looking at the whole person? So I tell you that story as an example of how you think you're doing one thing, but unless you ask someone for their honest opinion and give them permission to give it to you, you may not realize that you are repeating. Maybe not as bad. Maybe you are doing better. And that's the goal, right? Is to live every day better than you did yesterday. That's it. So that is my favorite thing to do. When you're feeling guilty and you're beating yourself up, reverse the roles and ask yourself, if your student was coming to you with these feelings, what would you tell them? And then tell yourself, then say that, and then say that to yourself, and give yourself permission to believe it. Okay, 2 bonus points I want to give you. These are not tips. These are just things that I think you need to routinely remind yourself. Because I struggle with this on the regular. I'm getting better at it, but that's because I remind myself of this on the regular. You are not responsible for your child's behavior. If you're raising young children, there is some truth to that, right? Because you need to correct them. We're talking about emerging adults, adult children. You have done your job, and I'm certain you've done your job well. You have let them know what expectations are, what appropriate behaviors are, what is right and wrong. So when your child lies, when your child is inconsiderate or rude, when your child doesn't perform as well academically as they wanted to, when your child forgets a deadline, when your child forgets to pay a bill, and they say it's your fault, you know that's a lie. And I'm going to challenge you to call them out on it. You did not make them make this decision. They are fully capable of making their own choices. And then comes the hard part. It's okay to let them struggle. That's where the work is, both for you and for them. That's where resilience grows from. That's where independence grows from. That's where self-advocacy grows from, is in the struggle. And I know, I'm right there with you. It is going to be as hard or harder for you than it is going to be for them. Because you're going to have to sit on your hands or put your hands over your mouth and let them struggle. You can encourage them. But don't fix it for them. This is the hard part. You can coach them. What else have you done? What else can you try? Who else can you talk to? What are you going to do about that? Did you notice it was directed at them? It wasn't even a we statement. It was a you statement. You, your child, not we. Your job is simply to encourage them. It was hard. All right, you guys. Mom guilt is a real thing. Go after it with a cast iron frying pan. If you need help, if you need a sounding board, you guys, I'm here. Email me. Message me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm here to allow you to talk it through. You can cry on the phone with me. I'll do that. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in my amazing hair therapist chair and the tears are just falling because I need to release the mom guilt so that I can be a better mom. You got it too. You need to let it go. So if I can help you, that's what I want to do. Okay, you guys, if you've got a sister friend, if you've got a mom friend that needs to hear this, please share this episode with them. I would really appreciate it. And again, I can't thank you enough how honored I am that you have taken time out of your very busy day to spend with me, and I hope you found this valuable and a benefit to your day. Talk to you next week, you guys. Take care.